Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Board Game Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we've got a bit of news. Now, this news is mainly for anyone who are fans of the Android Netrunner living card game. We bought it and tried it when it first came out, and we liked it, but we didn't get super into it and didn't play all the expansions, and eventually stopped playing it ourselves and sold it back. But we do have lots of friends who got really into this game. And there's been tons of expansions. There's been a big organized play scene, officially organized by Fantasy Flight Games. And the news, unfortunately, is that apparently that's all coming to an end. Now, while I was not super into Android Netrunner, I have been a part of many other games that had big organized play scenes from the company and experienced it when they came to an end. And it can be a really heartbreaking thing when you feel like this is a big part of your hobby life and a game dies. So I very much feel for you guys. But yesterday, Lynn found a press release from Fantasy Flight Games going over what's going on and as much as they could say about why it's going on. Which a lot of what they could say was we can't talk about specifically why, but what they could tell everyone was that the licensing agreement they had from Wizards of the Coast has come to an end, and reading between the lines, Wizards of the Coast does not want to renew it. I mean, they can't come out and say that apparently, but reading between the lines, they seem to be as blindsided by this as the community was. So I think what happened was the Wizards didn't tell them they weren't going to renew ahead of time. They'd been doing lots of expansions and just done a new core set. And then they went back to Wizards and were like, hey, let's renew this licensing agreement. And Wizards was like, yeah, no. And they're not renewing it. So it's, I don't know, it really sounded like, because they had people chiming in from all different parts of Fantasy Flight, including the people in charge of the development for Netrunner, and it sounded like they were blindsided.
Yeah.
Like they had no idea this was coming. They talked about how sad they were about it. So what they said is still coming. They're going to do one more expansion, right?
Mm-hmm. I think because it was slated to already come out this year, I think.
Right.
So
they must have already done just about all the development on it. So they've got one more expansion coming. There's one more world tournament. But then the organized play scene is going to go away. And there will be no more expansions for Android Netrunner. So first off, what does this mean?
Well, at least no more from Fantasy Flight.
Right, which we'll get back to that in 1 second. Because obviously, if Wizards wants to end it, it means they have something in the works themselves. So what does this mean? Now, when it comes down to what it means for the current iteration of Android Netrunner, it looks like it's going, in regard to being a still evolving, still ever-changing, organized play space, that's all going away. That's going to die, unfortunately. So now, the game itself, of course, you can still play it. You can still play any game you own. There are tons of expansions. If you've bought lots of the expansions and you have friends who bought lots of the expansions and you guys just want to play with each other, that's fine. Everybody can keep doing that. And in fact, there may be unofficial organized tournaments formed by people who are fans of the game who want to keep going, but there's going to be no new expansions. And this was a game that really thrived on constant updates, constant tons of expansions. They were coming out with them, I think, like monthly, which was crazy. But that's all unfortunately going to go away. Now, so no more official organized play scene, no more expansions. Why would Wizards do this? The main reason I can think of that they would do this is they've decided that they want to do some sort of card game based on the Android Netrunner IP, and they didn't want to be directly competing with something they had licensed out. And apparently they must not have told them ahead of time, and they sort of blindsided them with it when the licensing agreement came up, which in my opinion is a real kind of, not nice move to do to someone you had a business relationship with. But again, that's just my 2 bits on it. So what do you think? What do you think's going on?
I don't know.
Well, you were telling me earlier about you thought that they might be trying to revitalize the old CCG that Android Netrunner was based on.
There's any number of things they could be doing. They could just let it die.
I don't know why they would do that, though. That'd be leaving money on the table. They must have something coming.
They could try and rework it as a CCG. I don't know. They might think that if they can try and just keep it going as is and get all the money and not have to pay the, well, no, they would get paid the licensing fee. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if they could keep the current iteration and just reprint it themselves. There might be some issues with that since they had a deal and a partnership with Fantasy Flight. They may not be able to do that iteration, but they may be reworking it themselves for a new version.
Well, yeah, because I think I read somewhere that was Netrunner was the CCG that Wizards made.
Yes.
And then when they licensed it to Fantasy Flight, they put the Android in front of it.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll be able to use Android Netrunner.
No.
They would have to
go back to Netrunner.
Do Netrunner or some other.
Or change the name again.
Yeah, Cyberpunk Netrunner. I don't know.
Whatever. But yeah, so the old CCG, now brilliant though it was, and it was created by Richard Garfield, the man who invented collectible card games. Now, brilliant though it was, it didn't actually last that long, and it died out pretty quick back in the day, though it had a devoted following of fans. But the thing was, it came out when there were a million collectible card games. There was just too much competition. So then it sat as a languishing IP for like 20 years until Fantasy Flight was like, hey, we'd love to revitalize this as one of our living card games. They licensed it out from Wizards. They did it. It was very popular. They kept it going for a while, and now Wizards wants to yank it back. I have a feeling they're going to mess it up. We'll see what happens, but my prediction is whatever they do, they're probably going to kill it again. Because generally speaking, since Wizards has been a part of Hasbro, they don't have a very good track record for doing right by the fans. I mean, they've messed up so many popular IPs and had to then quickly try to fix them and whatnot. And yeah. So we'll see what happens. I could be totally wrong on that prediction, but I don't think the fans are going to be happy. Fantasy Flight had done a really good job, and a lot of people have been really happy with what they did versus how Wizards usually handles their IPs, which how they handle it is just how, all they're seeing. They're not looking at quality of game. They're not looking at quality of organized play. All they're looking at is dollar signs, and that's how they always are. So, generally speaking, that's kind of the wrong way to come at a business like this when it comes to gaming, because if you make the good games, the dollar signs will be there. People will buy them. But when you start out just looking at dollar signs and not really caring if the game's good, yeah, you're doing it backwards. So, and that's my opinion on Hasbro in general, is that they do it backwards. So we'll see what happens. But there you have it. So I'll put a link to the press release in the description down below so you can read it yourselves if you're interested. But yeah, they're killing off Android Netrunner, not by choice. Apparently their licensing agreement is up and Wizards doesn't want to renew it. We'll see what Wizards has coming for the... I'm guessing they are having some kind of card game coming out in the Android Netrunner universe, and they didn't want to compete with a licensed out version of their own IP. That's the thing that makes the most sense to me. Comment down below if you have any other opinions, and if you think you know what's going on, if you maybe heard something that I didn't. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns on this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this news update and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Kaptain. That's Kaptain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.